my name is Willie Minnix. I'm the author of the Dead Man's Tuning series of books and the brand new book, Lyrics and Music, Music Theory for Aspiring Songwriters. And I'm here with my nephew-in-law, Joe Morse, who has had a couple good hits on the country charts recently. And so we want to talk today about some tips that he might have for aspiring songwriters. So Joe, thanks for being in my video.
Thanks for having me, Willie.
What do you got to tell us?
Well, I guess first, when you say a couple hits, unfortunately, not any number ones. So you guys would be looking me up like, oh, he's only made it this far.
Yeah, but you know what?
But every step is a good step.
For
so
kids that are like 15 or 16-year-olds, just being on the chart is a really big deal.
Yeah, I've had a pop song that reached number 53 on the media-based charts, and I've had a country song that's at number 71 now and climbing. It's climbing, it's getting higher. We're pushing the record now. It's called Front Seat by Rayne Johnson, if you guys are interested. So my 5 steps as a songwriter perspective, I think the first step is to finish your songs. It's a really big step. When I was starting, and a lot of people that are starting, you might have a lot of ideas, regardless of whether you think they're good or not. You can be kind of hard on yourself. Some people are really generous with themselves and how good they think their song is. Regardless of how you feel, finish your songs.
Let me ask you a question. I didn't ask you this the last time, but it kind of occurred to me. Is there a process that you go through that's kind of the same for each song, or is it kind of different depending on the song? Or?
I'd say for me, I try to change up the way I write songs pretty often, but there are some things that remain the same.
Okay.
A lot of times for me, if I'm starting to write a song, I tend to start with, obviously, the idea.
Okay.
And even potentially a title.
Okay.
Title is really good to have. So for instance, Front Seat, the song that's out now, I got that idea. I was driving around. I saw these 2 guys in the front seat of a truck. This is like a country song. And there was a girl in the back seat on her phone, and she looked really bored and bummed out. And my very first thought was like, man, she should be in the front seat.
Yeah, at least from a gentleman perspective.
From a gentleman. Even if it was, I don't know if it was his sister or his girlfriend, I don't know. But I was like, man, that'd be a good song. It's not, obviously, it's a metaphor for being put first in someone's life. So that was my concept, front seat, and the metaphor is like a girl should come first.
Sure.
So now that I know what I'm writing to, I could either write the chorus out and then write the verse to the chorus, because you want it to be kind of cohesive, your concept to be cohesive, whether it's a pop song or a country song, like Attention by Charlie Puth. I'm running around throwing that dirt all on my name. Why? Because you want attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you knew that I knew that I knew that I, you know what I mean? It's like it all leads back to that title, that idea. In some way, shape, or form.
How do you feel about somebody like Bob Dylan, where his titles were almost like his signature that he would put at the end of a painting?
Right.
You know, like, so like if you ever get a chance, when you listen to like the outtakes from the Highway 61 Revisited album, it'll be like, this song is called Phantom Engineer. And they're like, okay, Phantom Engineer, take 5. No, wait a minute. No, let's call it, you know, cat climbing a tree and, you know, or whatever. They're like, what? Oh, no, let's call it, you know, whatever. And he would change his titles like constantly until he found the title that just
That's definitely a unique perspective, something that makes Bob Dylan kind of stand out, which I think every artist should strive for. I try to do the same thing with my titles. They're maybe not so much out there.
Yeah, what the heck? Well, that's
like
1960s weirdness, you know.
But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. But definitely, for me, that definitely makes them stand out.
So point number 2.
So my step number 2 would be to try to think outside of the box. So once you're writing your songs and finishing them, you might find if you're a new writer that you might be saying, I don't know, maybe you don't have enough poetry or enough imagery in your writing. It's like, I love her and she's so great and she's so awesome and she's the best thing. Find ways to say things differently that nobody else has said it.
Yes, I talk about that in the book. It's like, look for, one of the things I talk about is looking for words that are sensory.
Right. That
you could describe things that you cannot describe. So all the time be in a practice of saying, okay, wow, that's amazing. Now, how would I put that into words?
Right. A good simple example, and I always lead to songs that are kind of Body Like a Back Road's a really simple example of a title that's a little unique, a little different, a little out there. And when I first heard Body Like a Back Road,
you're like, what does that mean?
And then I hear him complimenting a woman. I can't imagine going up to a woman before that song saying, wow, girl, you got a body like a back road. I think I'd get slapped in the mouth.
Right. Yeah,
like, what do you mean? Like, it's all bumpy and curvy, but like when he sings it, he brings it and makes it sound really good. It's a unique title.
Yeah.
So fish for those unique titles. You got to go fishing. You got to really think of the concepts.
Okay.
So I got my little tips.
Yeah.
Okay. Step 3. Step 3, I would say that you have to be doing it every single day.
Okay, that's a very Paul Simon-ish kind of thing.
Right, every single day. Now, for me, I don't necessarily have time to sit literally and like focus and write every day. That's really important.
Yeah.
Try to do that as often as possible and fish for concepts, but always be on the lookout when you're driving
Right.
around.
Well,
When you're
the other day, I was driving through my town, and I saw a bumper sticker that said, "You have to excuse my driving. I was raised by wolves." I was like, "That's a great title for a song." So I went home and I wrote out, "Excuse me, I was raised by wolves," and made a whole song out of it. And it's like, it's just, but the whole concept is, in the song was not my driving. It's that I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but I'm really a tough guy, and I don't mean to be that mean,
Right.
And I thought that's a great concept for a
that
song.
kind of takes on a little bit more meaning as you get through the lyrics.
Yeah.
You start to understand it and comprehend
Exactly.
it a little better.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So doing it every day, and the concept of like sitting down and putting the practice and the work in. I guess I compare it to like when you're gonna sit and practice your scales on guitar.
Sure.
Right, where you have to practice your minor, your major, your pentatonic, all that. Or if you're just doodling.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between, you get different things from just doodling and messing around and then practicing your scales.
Right.
Same thing with writing. You can doodle in your brain all day.
Yeah,
but you
but
should
you
sit
gotta put it
down,
on the paper.
put it into practice on
Yep.
paper.
I like to tell people to carry some kind of a notebook, or their phone,
Or
if they're
yeah,
whatever.
but notebook. I like notebooks.
But lately, I've been using my phone more because
Voice
I have
notes
it with
for
me.
melodies.
Yeah.
I do that a lot too.
Well, and the other thing I found a new app, and my phone died because I took it in the swimming pool like an idiot. But but I found this cool new app, and it was basically a complete DAW for your cell phone.
Yeah.
For free. And you can buy like effects and things like that in the DAW, but it's like as long as your cell phone can handle it, you can record up to as many tracks as you want.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
awesome.
like basically flesh out a whole song just right there on your phone.
Yeah, go check
So,
that out.
Yeah, so there's some cool tips and tools out there that you can get a hold of.
So my step 4 would be to take criticism well.
Okay.
Like when I would play shows, a lot of my mutual friends, my family would come out when I was first starting to play shows, and usually nobody had anything bad to say. They're my friends and
Sure.
family. Once in a while, someone would be like, "Oh, that lyric wasn't so great," and my first initial reaction is like, whatever. Like I don't want to hear that. But really, it's good to take criticism from your fans, right? So you can try to work on your song, because really, as a songwriter, you want to get your point across from your heart and your feelings, but your goal is to write for the people
Right.
to listen. So take both of those things into consideration. Find somebody who might have good criticism to give you, not just, "I didn't like that and I don't know why." Like for me, I sent in a song to this contest. It was a songwriting contest. I placed top 3 out of 10,000. I put myself out there, and I found a couple producers, people that have had #1 hits, that have been in the industry for a long time. And they kind of gave me an opportunity to show them some songs. So I sent them a bunch of songs, and I wanted them to critique and do
Sure.
whatever. Like, tell me what you think. And it wasn't always pleasant.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, the lyrics go by too fast. I can't understand the thing you're saying, and this and that. And my first response wants to be like, whatever. They just don't get it.
But at
No.
least they're giving you something. Like I remember the first song I ever sent in, the guy that sent me back then in the day, it was they'd send you a letter. So I got a letter in the mail, and the guy said, "I really like your song, but it needs a rewrite. But man, that vocalist was awesome. Who was that?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, well, that was nice because I was the vocalist." But I'm like, "What do you mean a rewrite?" And they didn't give. So if you don't have that connection, but nowadays. It's like you could have a chat with somebody, for an hour, online, and get a lot of good critiques that
That's
way.
true. And the thing is, you'll always have what you have. If you write a song, you're always going to have that. If somebody says, "Oh, try changing this, try doing that," somebody that might be in the industry that might kind of know what they're talking about or has some music background, you can take that with a little more seriousness, at least in my opinion, because they kind of know what they're talking about.
Well, I read a book recently, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he directed some famous movies, and his book that I read was called How to Make Videos That Don't Suck. And one of the things he talked about was the same thing that you're talking about, but he said you want to find 3 to 5 people that are your go-to critics. People that that they're not just going to tear your song apart or whatever, but or video in that case, but they're going to give you constructive criticism. They'll be like, "Wow, I really like that shot, but I think this shot could have been shorter," or something. I think the same thing goes with music. There are probably people that are within your own environment that maybe they're not a musician, but they just really love music, and maybe they have a good ear that just and they'll be like, "You know what? that song was stuck in my head all day long. I have a cousin like that, that he loves to sing, and so it's like whenever I play a song for him, if it gets stuck in his head, I know, okay, that's probably a decent song.
It's a good sign. It's a good indicator. You might have a good song. Nice.
But we also, the last time we talked about this, I had mentioned the Songland show, and how that girl, some girl on there had brought her song to the producer, and he was like, all right, this is a great song. Now I want to change your title, I want to change your chord progression, I want to change all your lyrics. And by the time it was done, it wasn't the same song.
Yeah, pretty common.
If she takes the criticism, now she basically has two songs. Because she has the original song the way it was, and then she has this new song.
You'll never lose what you have.
Yeah. But that brings me to another question that I didn't ask you before. What do you think about people like Sting or maybe Dylan again, or some of these people that their song seems to evolve? Like I Take Every Breath You Take. I have heard probably Sting do 30 versions of that song, and each one is like almost totally different from the last. How do you feel about that with your songs? Like, do you see that as you age, will your songs probably change a little bit too? Or
you're talking song structure wise,
yeah,
just
like,
how if I was gonna play it out,
like
play
Dylan
it
will completely write new lyrics for his songs sometimes, or sometimes he'll change the melody to where it's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, I think for people like Sting or Dylan, where like there's always people that are going out to see them perform. And once you get to that certain level, it's like they've heard your songs, they know your songs really well, and maybe Bob's like, we're gonna change it up a little bit. I want to add some meaning to these songs so that my fans who know these songs from bottom to heart, like they can come and hear something a little different. They can experience something new and fresh and different from me. It's like, I know when artists are just starting out, they tell you, play your record.
Keep it the same.
Play your record, because they want to hear your record.
That's what people want to hear.
You're new, they heard your record, they want to hear you do your record and see if you're any good. And then you start Bruce Springsteen, John Mayer, and once like they play a different show every time they, every time that they tour. So I think it's really cool that you can provide that for your fans that have been with you for a long time. To kind of give them something a little different. I love that. I think that's great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what we got? One more tip?
My last step is very, very simple. I think it's just to live life, experience new things, get outside your house. If you're just stuck and your brain's hurting, you're like, oh, I've been writing for so long. Get out, breathe some air. I don't know, experience new cultures. Like learn about things, pick up some different books. Learn about the culture or the type of music that you're working with. See where it started, where it came from. Just learn.
That's a really good
learn and live life. Learn and live life.
I remember, I think it was Eric Clapton, I read an article one time and he said, don't just enjoy the music of your, favorite artist, but find out who their favorite artist was. And then find out who that person's favorite artist was, and just kind of keep going back and see how the music progressed to what you like. I try to tell my students that sometimes. I think the other thing too is, in my previous video I talked about go out in nature, because you look at the trees, you get relaxed, you hear the water flowing and all that stuff, and then it's like, okay, now I can think again, and new ideas will come your way. But cool. So tell us about where we can find you and.
Yeah. So right now, I'm Joe Jordan Music is my Facebook page. I got an Instagram. You can look up some of the artists that I write for. Kyle Meagher, and I'm gonna spell it wrong. I think it's Meagher.
Okay.
And then Rayne Johnson is the country artist I write for.
How do you spell Rayne? It's spelled different.
Rayne.
Okay.
Johnson, as it sounds, and so I've kind of helped write his whole EP. He's got 6 or 7 songs.
Cool.
Some songs I've written 100% of, and some songs I have a percentage of. Rayne and I wrote together, or some other people outside. But those are the 2 things I got working now. I'm working a plethora of different artists right now that are kind of.
That's cool.
Hopefully.
Are they mostly country now, or are you more in that line, or what are you doing?
Working on one female country artist, and then I'm working on with a pop group that's interested. They're kind of an EDM group, and they're looking to kind of go more towards pop. This is kind of a new relationship, but I'm always trying to work new things. When you're starting as a writer, you gotta
get what you can get.
Take the work and then provide. A lot of people would be like, man, if Thomas Rhett cut my song, it'd be a hit song. I think that's
maybe
that's a bad mentality to have.
Yeah.
If your song is only a hit in the hands of Thomas Rhett, don't worry about that. Try to write a song that's a hit in the hands of Joe Schmo.
Yeah, right.
Just write a great, brilliant song.
That's the thing that I think is so critical, because when you have songwriters that they write something so beautiful, then it becomes an iconic song. Like Yesterday, how many people have recorded that song?
I think it's one of the most recorded and played songs in history.
Hundreds and hundreds of people have recorded that song, and it's a great song, and you go to a campfire and somebody's going to play that song. You know, it's just the way it is. So write one of those songs, you know, and then you're good.
Yeah. Some say it's a lot harder to do nowadays.
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's what I get into my book. I think the reason it's a lot harder to do is because of the music that was influencing people back then. And I think that nowadays, and one of the thrusts of my book, is that new songwriters tend to only, and it goes with your point that you just mentioned, a lot of new songwriters tend to only listen to the kind of music that they like.
Right.
And I think it's really important to branch out, and that's why in my book I cover songs that, I think my earliest song that I cover is from 1938 maybe, and I talk about music theory all the way up until like just a couple of years ago with some of the songs, because there are like one of the more recent songs that I cover, I can't remember which one it was, but it uses techniques that was popular in Louis Armstrong's day.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, that stuff just cycles back around.
Right.
But if it's cycling back around and you don't know how to do it, well, then the next guy's going to get to his song sold, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So, well, cool, man. Thank you so much, Joe, for
thank
being
you
here.
for having me. I appreciate it.
And check his stuff out. Again, you can find my stuff on Barnes & Noble or Amazon, or go to my website, willieminnix.com, and I've got a lot of tips there for you for songwriting. So you guys have a great day. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.